I want to bring in Leland Vittert now live in Washington, D.C. ahead of the President's State of the Union address. Leland, this could not come at a more important and critical time for the nation and the world. A lot of people are asking how important this moment is, in particular for Joe Biden as president.
Very important, clearly. What's probably interesting purely from a political standpoint is the American people who are upset about inflation. 80% of Americans say it's a big problem that's facing them. The president's got a low approval rating, only 33%. The last time a Democratic president was that low was Jimmy Carter. But he has been given, in a way, this political opportunity because he doesn't have to solve so many of the world's problems. Even Americans who would be relatively skeptical of President Biden right now are looking to the president for presidential leadership on Ukraine. And the way President Biden has handled Ukraine, as bad as it looked early last week and during the invasion, suddenly has turned. And we talked earlier on Balance with Mac McLarty, former chief of staff for Bill Clinton and one of the great political observers of all time. The last time a president rallied an international coalition in the same way was George H.W. Bush for Desert Storm. And we all remember the success politically President Bush enjoyed until a recession ended his presidency in 1992. But President Biden now has the opportunity to not have to be all political tomorrow. He can be political and also presidential.
Right, striking that important balance. Leland, what does he need to do in order to restore confidence when it comes to the crisis in Ukraine, to get people behind him?
Well, so far as we can see, he hasn't lost the American people on the issue of Ukraine necessarily. What he needs to be able to do is explain to the American people that I am here, I am in charge, and I will lead the free world. That's what Americans want their president to do. Really, the presidency comes down to two things. Do people feel as though they're secure, and do people feel as though they're prosperous? That was George Will's line. It's true. On inflation, people do not feel they're prosperous. Economically, they feel like they're hurting. Ukraine's going to only make that worse. Do they feel like they're secure? That's a bigger question. And today, President Biden was asked, will there be nuclear war, Mr. President? And it stopped me cold because in all my years covering the White House and traveling the world covering war, I'd never heard an American president asked, will there be nuclear war? But people felt the need, reporters felt the need to ask that question. And that should give us a sense of how perhaps insecure much of America feels, knowing that Vladimir Putin has put his nuclear forces on alert. The president needs to remind all of us that he's in charge and he is leading, and he will lead the free world out of this crisis without a nuclear war.
Enough to send chills up your spine, and the threat very real given Russia's nuclear capability. Leland Vittert live in Washington, D.C. And a note for folks at home, Leland and I will be back at 10 Central, 11 Eastern for a special report on the continued crisis in Ukraine. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.